How you doing, people? Welcome back to another ESO video. Today is about the current change to the PTS regarding the Lightning Staff. Now, for the longest time, the Lightning Staff has given us a really big bonus to both splash damage per tick and, of course, area of effect damage. Now, the Flame Staff used to give single target damage and the Lightning Staff used to give AoE. The Flame Staff is now giving us a status bonus where we do more damage per status effect that fires, and the Lightning Staff has been changed. Instead of pushing area of effect, which it can still technically do depending on the damage type, it now pushes damage over time. Now bear in mind the channel from the Lightning Staff is actually damage over time anyway, but that seems to not be directly affected. The Lightning Staff for the single target effect itself, just the channel, seems to be about the same. However, this is what we're now dealing with. So Tri-Focus, obviously your heavy attacks still do 100% of the damage done to surrounding targets, but that has been altered. Before, it used to be every single tick, so you could dramatically nuke a room with a Lightning Staff heavy attack, no problem whatsoever. And then there's a big pop at the end. Now that's not the case. Now, it only counts for the last tick. So as you can see here, big boom still goes off at the end, and the big channel still affects the main target, but the ticks per tick don't affect the surrounding ones. So that is actually a bit of a substantial drop. However, if you still want to heavy attack, you can still get the same single target DPS, and you will still contribute to AoE. It's just been a little bit reduced. Now bear in mind, if you're using something like the Lazy Sork, where you heavy drop a wall, heavy drop a wall, heavy drop a wall, you still do a lot of damage. But that has been dropped on purpose. Now where that meets in the middle somewhere is if you have actively placed damage over time in area of effect, then obviously it's still going to do area of effect damage from those skills, but it's going to be lacking in comparison to what it was before, lined up with that tick, or those ticks. But here's the thing, before it was a 10% increase to AoE, now it is a 12% increase to damage over time or channeled. So it's encouraging you to take advantage of some channeled skills as well as area of effect. Yes, it does include area of effect channeled skills. It's messy, but jabs basically counts. So jabs before, puncture and sweeps, if you're not familiar, would be considered area of effect and direct damage. Whereas now, although it's not technically a damage over time, as far as the game is concerned, it is damage over time because it's got a start and finish, and it is a channel regardless because it has a cast time. So 10% damage extra before for being area of effect, but now 12% increase because it's channel. This also affects your Jesus Beam. Yes, that means that Radiant Oppression or Radiant Glory with a Lightning Staff is now 12% stronger. And already on the off-balance build, I'm cracking 134, 136k Jesus Beams. Yes, you can get higher, but that's insane. Previously, the build would push maybe about 115, 119 maybe Jesus Beams. We've gained quite a lot on top. That fluctuates, obviously, depending on crits, but it's pretty nuts. So these things here are two separate skills, but because they both follow a channel rule, they both get the increase, rather than just one. Before, Flame Staff would improve this, Lightning would improve this. Now Lightning improves both. Lightning also improves the Beast Trap, even though that's a single target effect, and it has a status effect and all the rest of it, which you can benefit from with the Flame Staff. This is now a benefit for the Lightning Staff. So it looks like damage over time in both area of effect and single target and channel, so I said both, but there's actually three, all get boosted by this. So while on one side of the coin, your heavy attack is still the same strength, and the pop is the same strength, but your splash damage has been somewhat reduced because the ticks don't count anymore, everything else has been boosted. Whether that be a small amount or a large amount depends very much on your build, but that's a very big change overall, especially when you've got so many skills in the game that are damage over time. So this kind of warrants the question, which would you prefer now? Do you want the fire because there's so many ways to boost fire? Or do you want the lightning because you can just boost the crap out of single target or area of effect, channeled or damage over time abilities? This build, for example, always used a Lightning Staff or dual wield on the front to take advantage of either crit chance or just a mass AoE bonus. Well, that is area of effect, but it's damage over time. So that used to get boosted before by 10%, now it's 12. This here, damage over time, used to get boosted by 10%, now it gets 12. This here, same applies, 12. All of those have been boosted. We've got a 2% bonus on each one of them in comparison to what we used before if you're on the Lightning Staff. So That's a bit crazy. Single target, boosted by 12%, wasn't boosted before. AoE, boosted by 12%, was 10. Jesus Beam, boosted by 12%, had none. This change has altered not just this build, but many builds a lot. This remains to be seen as to whether they're going to alter it or not, because at the moment I think it's a bit front-loaded. I'm not going to be against it, because obviously I like to use the lightning staff, but I am also going to look at it from a balance perspective and consider that this might be a little bit too strong at the moment. I can see them winding it back a bit. But we'll see where it goes. In regards to stuff like the Easy Sork and the Lazy Sork, no, it's not the end of the world yet. It's not live, and anything could change. But if this does go live, those builds so far in testing are still very, very functional. They do exactly what they did before. It's just that, again, those ticks before the final pop are not going to be there. So you might be in an ad pool slightly longer. But let's face it, most people weren't finishing a heavy attack anyway, because everything was already dead. Now, when you consider other classes, you've got the DK that has an abundance of damage over time. The Necromancer's got a lot of damage over time as well. And it gets a damage over time bonus as a passive. Then you've got, obviously, the Templar, which you've just seen. You've got the Sorcerer, which also has damage over time in some areas. You've got Liquid Lightning and stuff like that. Not too much. You've got a lot of direct, but you also do have some damage over time, so that's going to heighten some of that. The Arcanist with the beam, especially if you stack Deadly with it, depending on the rest of your build, is absolutely bonkers right now. And the Nightblade has got some really good damage over time as well, especially when you look at Debilitate and Twist and Path and all that, those kinds of things. Whichever morph you take, obviously one of them's a heal, one's damage. But even the Warden, lots of ice damage, plenty of damage over time apart from when you throw the budgies. There's lots of different things that are class and weapon skills that do actually count as damage over time that the Lightning Staff is now going to boost over other things. So it's going to be a difficult thing for them to balance because they don't want you to play one way, but they are pigeonholing the two staves. But it looks like they're pushing, even though they don't want one way, it feels like they're pushing in that direction. So I do feel like they're going to have some adjustments along the way. I mean, that stands to reason on PTS anyway. One more thing to note, however, while this might slightly conflict with what I've just said, this particular build has two choices. Daggers, or dagger with a sword, or a lightning staff, depending on how you want to play. If you check in the description, the build's there, so you can check it out how it works on live. But I've tried both of these so far, considering the fact that obviously the lightning staff is now going to boost single target damage over time, and area of effect damage over time, and channeled effects. So what do you think the result was? I'm assuming that everyone has the flat logic, which would make sense, that a 12% increase does more damage, right? No. One dagger and one sword, or two daggers, actually came out to exactly the same damage. Now, why is that? Well, you've got your flat bonuses for having two weapons as it stands, and you've got extra crit chance, but what happened is, across the board, all the skills were affected differently, so the balance was there. So maybe they do know what they're doing. Maybe it's not that clear and we have to try stuff out. I'd encourage you to give it a go, get on the PTS before they change it, and then when they do change it, inevitably, or hopefully, we'll see where they go with it from there. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you're not subscribing, obviously hit the button, it's free. Don't forget to hit that bell, because if you don't hit the bell, you don't know the videos are live. But again, also, if you're not following on social media, there's links in the description below for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the website xynodegaming.com, and of course Patreon, where you can support the channel financially, and I can keep doing this for a living and pay the bills. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.